What is going on, you guys? It is your boy, Matt Talks Films, and I am back with another video. I'm back with another review, and this time is for one of horror's major releases this summer, and it's none other than the film Together, starring Dave Franco and Alison Brie, a real-life married couple. And for me, that is one of the major reasons why I wanted to go see this movie. One, it's Dave Franco in a horror movie. That intrigues me. And two, they're a real-life couple portraying a couple on screen. And now we've seen that go awry in some films. The film was great, but the couple didn't last afterwards. Eyes Wide Shut, directed by the great Stanley Kubrick, Tom Cruise, and Nicole Kidman. They separated 3 years after, but I had a feeling a year and a half directing that film and acting in that film, thousands and thousands of takes about the relationship they were in that film might have taken effect in how the relationship ended. Hey, I'm just speculating. But anyway, we've also seen it work out really well, and examples you can find all over film history. And also, you have times when a real life couple is portraying a couple on screen and they have no chemistry on screen. One, that can be really bad for the film. You don't want a couple in any film having no chemistry, whether they're dating or married in real life. Two, it's a really bad look on your relationship in real life if you have no on-screen chemistry, because what the hell. But anyway, I am here to tell you, Alison Brie and Dave Franco have great on-screen chemistry here, and they are one of the major strong points for this film. And I enjoyed the relationship on screen here, and I had a blast with them. So let me tell you about Together. Together is a film following a couple taking the big leap and moving out of the big city and moving into a home together. And they are not married yet. They've been dating for a little over a decade, and a failed marriage proposal by Alison Brie's character Millie before they leave and move into their own home at the going away party brings tension and turmoil to the relationship and questioning if they should even be together. And as they move into this new home together and as tension is arising, they decide to go on a hiking trip. On this hiking trip, things go bad, and it leads to something happening that will forever alter their relationship. And after they return from the hiking trip, things are never the same. But is there clarity found amongst the relationship? Who knows? That's where I'll stop with the plot. Hopefully I'll get into spoilers at the end of this video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more of this big bearded man on your screen. And follow me everywhere I'm at Talks Films. There will be more content about film because I love doing this for y'all. I'll see you guys there. And now, how did I feel about this film? I want to be definitive here, because this is the one definitive feeling I have about this film. This is undoubtedly the best experience I've had in the theaters all year. I mean, that's without a doubt. It is not the best film I've seen all year. It is not even in the top 5. And it's not even in the top 10. And it will be lucky enough to crack the top 13 as the year continues to unfold. However, if you are watching this big bearded man stumble upon his words and talk to you through your screen, whatever screen you're watching right now, I implore you, matter of fact, I demand you to go see this film in theaters, because god damn it, whether you love it, whether you like it, or whether you are indifferent about it, you will walk away from the theater knowing you didn't waste your time and you had a fucking blast. Whether it's from listening to everyone else's reaction in this theater, or whether it's the experience this film ultimately will give you, you will walk away from this film having a blast. And you should go see this fucking film, because it was a great time for me in theaters, and it is a theater experience I don't know if I will ever forget. This time next year, when I think about the films I saw this year, I think I'll remember this film the most. Despite me absolutely thinking Eddington is a masterpiece, the theater experience for this film was unbelievable. And I laughed so much. I had my skin crawl in a couple different scenarios throughout this film, and I almost jumped out of fear. And that's rare for me. I found out I was still alive and still a human being that can feel things, because I almost jumped at a horror movie in 2025, and that made me feel something, and that got me excited. But I will say this, go see the film, and here's what I ultimately think about the film. Listen, I gave this film a 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I really think that might be more so of how much I enjoyed my ultimate experience in the theater with the crowd I saw, which was about 8 to 10 people. Like, I think my entertainment level and my enjoyment factor is higher than what I feel about this film, because I will tell you this. There are some points in this film where the stupidity and the absurdity reaches extraordinary heights. And some of this film doesn't make any sense. And when you try to put some logic behind it and you try to justify some of the stuff that goes on in this film, it is hard to talk about it and not sound a little stupid, or at least me. That's how I feel, because I understand the plot. I understand what this film is going for and its themes about relationships and honesty and blah blah blah, soulmates. There's this quote, not necessarily a quote, but a myth recounted in this film that ultimately overshadows and plays a huge part in this film. It is a myth recounted from Plato's Symposium. We were once a spherical being with 4 arms, 4 legs, 2 faces that featured characteristics of both male and females. And we were once powerful beings, challenged the gods, and to punish us, Zeus split us in half, and creating the human being that we now know as 1 face, 2 arms, and 2 legs. And we are forever now looking for our other half and our soulmate. And that is ultimately the myth that overshadows this film, and that is the main overstay within this film. Now, when I say this myth out loud, okay, so that's what this film ultimately will lead to. That's what it's about. But some of the things in this film that comes into play and result of this thing doesn't really coordinate logically to me. I mean, I don't want to get into spoilers here, but recount Plato's Symposium and this film will make a little bit more sense, because it is something that's said by a character in this film, by Damian Harriman, who plays Jamie, the teacher in Alison Brie's Millie's school, and their neighbor. And ultimately, he comes into play, and he is a victim of Plato's Symposium. Not a victim, honestly, a very consensual human being within that concept. And it's kind of crazy because fuck, I can't spoil this film. I want to spoil this film, but anyway, I'll bring this back up later in the video. Let's talk about the performances here. I already talked about how great the chemistry between Alison Brie and Dave Franco is, and it's one of the best parts of this film. There's some really funny parts in this film. The horror in this film is effective, 2 points. The body horror is really good. Doesn't really rely on jump scares, which I'm a fan of. I'm not a huge fan of jump scares, so to not rely on jump scares in 2025 is a big thing for me. So the performances individually. I really like Damon Harriman as Jamie. He pulled off his performance really well, and ultimately I really enjoyed what he brought to the table here to complement both Alison Brie and Dave Franco. Dave Franco. One of the things going through this film was, hey, is Dave Franco going to be believable here in a main role in a horror film? And I was very iffy on that. I was filled with wonder. I'm like, hey, is this going to work out? Because I do like Dave Franco. I do like what he brings to the table. And one of the things I was hoping for this film to have was comedic aspects, because that is where Dave Franco really excels at. I don't know if I can take him seriously in a serious role, and a fully serious one at that. And this film does that. It provides a very good comedic aspect to the film, while also including horror elements, because obviously it's a horror film. But Dave Franco is really funny here, and despite me not totally being convinced with some of his acting in these horror spots and these horror scenarios within this film, I found his performance in this film to be fine. Despite me thinking he was overacting in some spots here, especially in the horror elements, I found his performance to be wholesome. Especially, and I also found his performance to be relatable. Like, you're going to go into this film and find both of these performances and the relationship being on display here within this film to be relatable, because it is a very relatable relationship, and it's a relationship that a lot of people will experience. But I do think Dave Franco is fine in this movie. He excels in the comedic aspects, and he's not bad in the horror elements. That's all you can really ask for him here, because you know that he isn't that great of an actor, and he is just a good enough actor, and he excels in certain spots. So this film allows him to excel in the spots that he usually does, while also showing off a different range to his acting in the horror elements. Despite me thinking he doesn't fully pull it off, he is fine, he is good enough. And Dave Franco is good enough in this movie, and I am happy to report that. Alison Brie, she's the scene stealer here. Besides her being absolutely beautiful and having this great cinematic presence to her, I will say, She is the scene stealer here. I thought she was really good comedically, and I thought she was really good in the horror scenes. I enjoyed her. I enjoyed the role she was playing as this person who wants to get married to this person and still believes in this person and what he's doing in his life, despite it not being the most hopeful, quote unquote, and the most financially gaining. I do really appreciate what she brought to the table for the most part. The only time I didn't like her performance was at the end of this film, and it's not due to her. It's due to the writing and how absolutely bizarre, absurd, and stupid that last scene in the last shot of this film is. Now, the performances were good enough. I said that Damon Harriman, Alison Brie, Dave Franco, they were good. I preferred Alison Brie and Damon Harriman in this film. I thought they fit a horror movie way better than Dave Franco did, but the performances were good here. The horror is good in this movie to an extent. The body horror is really good. It skeeves you out for the most part. This is ultimately the non-spoiler finalization of this review. This is a 3.5 out of 5 for me. 75 or an 80 out of 100 if you're doing traditional scoring. And ultimately, I think this rating is what it is because of the entertainment it brought me and the vibes that this film provided for me. And I had a great time. Ultimately, I laughed too much at this film instead of with it for me not to give it a higher rating, despite me wanting to do so before that last scene of this film. But I laughed too hard at scenes I shouldn't have, especially the final shot of this film. I laughed with this film a lot, but I also laughed at this film a considerable amount of time. So I can't raise the score even higher. And the flaws are too highlighted for me here, and I can't give this film a higher rating despite me really, really enjoying my time with it and having filled myself with huge entertainment while watching it. I still implore you to go see it, even though the flaws are pretty highlighted for me. I laughed at this film too much, and Dave Franco, despite him being fine here, wasn't really too convinced with him in these horror spots to this film because he's just a funny guy to me, and it's hard for me to take him 100% seriously. I'm sorry, Dave Franco. But anyway, so let's get into some spoilers here. Okay, as I recounted to you earlier in this film is heavily influenced by the myth included in Plato's Symposium, which states, I'll state it again, we were once spherical beings that had 4 arms, 4 legs, and 2 faces upon one head. And this spherical being featured both male and female characteristics. We were powerful, we once challenged the gods, and as punishment, Zeus split us into half, leaving us to the human beings that we know of today with 1 face upon 1 head, 2 arms, 2 legs, and we are now forever looking for our other half and our soulmate. So, that is the overshadowing big thing in this film. There is a chapel / cult, chapel, temple, whatever you want to call it, that collapsed. And during the hike that they go on during the first couple of days in this new town they're in, they fall into this hole. The hole they fall into, we find out, was this chapel and church that believed in this thing, the Plato Symposium myth. And we ultimately find out that Jamie, played by Damon Harriman, is a part of that church and is a part of the successful thing of Plato Symposium. He combined his life with his partner, and now they're operating as one functioning human being. Except they don't have 4 arms, and they don't have 4 legs, and they don't have 2 faces upon 1 head. They're like mutated into one thing, which kind of doesn't make any sense to me because I'll get into the last shot here. Jamie is this guy who just looks like himself. He looks like Damon Harriman, right? But the spouse in the wedding video we see, it's a guy that doesn't look anything like him. And Damon Harriman's character doesn't have any of the characteristics of that character, right? But the last shot of this film, when Alison Brie's character and Dave Franco's character are forced because Alison Brie's character is bleeding out, and the only way Dave Franco's character can save her is if they merge together as one and become together. And this is where the stupidity, you see me start to laugh at this? They merge together, and the last shot of the scene is where the whole film, Alison Brie is saying, hey, my parents are coming up on Sunday for dinner, and they're just coming for Sunday. So that's a big overshadowing of this film, too, because you know Sunday's coming, and you know her parents are coming. So we get this shot of the kitchen that was once filled with blood and bloody seats and stuff because they once had to cut each other apart. It is now decorated. It's beautifully plated. It's beautifully decorated, and you see the parents pull into the driveway in their car, and then you see them ring the bell, which is the bell that we see in the chapel. It marks the cult, and it marks the bell that was also on Jamie's doorstep as well. So the parents show up, they ring the bell. Who opens the door? It's Alison Brie, except it's noticeably Alison Brie with different changes, with a deeper voice and Dave Franco's eyebrows. And listen, this film has some very funny moments in it, purposefully. And as I said to end the non-spoiler review, I laughed at this film too much. Not with it, I laughed at it too much. And this is one of the biggest moments. I'm sorry to anyone who saw this film with me. Despite me enjoying my time with it, the last shot of this film of Alison Brie opening the door to her parents with Dave Franco's eyebrows, a deeper voice, and a different haircut was unbelievable, considering Jamie's character had none of his partner's characteristics. The only time he had his partner's characteristics is when Millie is in his house and she's finding out about what's happening to them, and she went back to his house to get the keys as she left there earlier. She hits him in the face as she's watching the video, and he cuts her open. And as she hit him in the face, you see his partner's face come out of his face. But it's really confusing, as you can see, because why is Millie and Tim combining of two people, and they both look like the two separate people in the relationship, but Jamie and his spouse only looks like Damon Harriman? Am I explaining this correctly? Because it's hard to fucking coherently define that part of this film. Because yes, I understand the themes of this movie. Yes, I understand Plato's Symposium. But some of the things are very confusing here. It just is. I mean, definitively. Okay? So the last shot of this film almost made me despise this movie. But also, when I walked out of the theater, threw my popcorn bucket out, I was smiling, and on the way home, I was smiling too, because the entertainment this film provided to me was very well. And also, this kind of smells like a cult classic because of how weird this film is and how absurdly stupid it gets, and how entertaining it ultimately gets because of how stupid and entertaining it gets. I don't know. When you guys watch a horror film, is one of the big aspects of the horror film for you that makes them so great is it gets so absurdly stupid? Like, yes, don't get me wrong, I love horror films that provide realism and everything makes sense. But also, I like a horror film that does get absurd and stupid at times, because that is a sign of creative leaps and risks being taken within the film. And that's one of the things I appreciate. Despite me thinking a lot of these creative risks and leaps within this film don't work, some of them do. Some of them don't, but the ones that don't really come off as absurd and stupid to me, and some of those risks don't make any sense to me. So, that's where I lie. And also, one of my favorite scenes in this film that I feel like I had to talk to you guys about before I go here is, alright, Tim is a struggling artist. He is a failing artist, but he has an opportunity to perform with a band back in the city. Before he leaves to the house, he makes a promise to the band, hey, I'll be the guitarist, I'll perform with you guys, I'll go on tour with you. So, he doesn't even have a car, he doesn't even have a license, as we see in one scene in this film. He only has a permit. So he has to rely on Millie to drop him off and drive him to places, but he can't rely on that all the time because she's a teacher. She has a full-time job, she's making money. He doesn't, right? So, there's this whole argument during this film about how, oh, he feels like he's trapped here. And he can't leave because he doesn't have a driver's license, and he doesn't have a job, doesn't have his own money, blah, blah, blah. You get it, right? So, when it comes to the day that he needs to get dropped off at the train station, Millie drops him off. And there's already been effects of this Plato's Symposium. I don't even know how to describe the thing that they're feeling, right? Because Tim ultimately drinks water from the hole that they fell in during the hiking trip, and now they're infected with Plato's Symposium. You see how fucking funny and stupid this can come across as? And the film does a better job giving it to you than I am right now, but I just wanted to talk about it out loud to somebody if no one listens to this. But alright, so they're starting to feel the effects of Plato's Symposium, right? And as she drives off from dropping him off at the train station, he starts to feel this huge magnetic feeling to him that if she drives any further and he leaves, that something is going to go very bad and something very bad might happen to him. So instead of hopping on the train, he leaves his guitar and all of his bags and he starts walking back. Alison Brie is now at school, aka Millie. The class broke out for lunch. She's on a Skype call with her friend, debating about where this relationship is going, how weird things have gotten, and her friend is kind of telling her like, how's he been lately? He was great to you early in the relationship. How he's been to you lately? And as she says that, she looks up and she sees Tim struggling and walking through this playground of kids. And she shuts the computer. She runs down to him, and she's like, "What the hell are you doing?" She brings him to the boys' bathroom, and all of a sudden, the scene they've been building up, because there's a big point in this film where they kind of highlight to you they haven't been having sex. They haven't been romanticizing much. What happens here? Out of a spur of love and a feeling of passion, Tim and Millie have sex. Not only do they have sex in the boys' room at the school in the stall. It is a moment of heat and passion. It's something Millie's been asking for, and it's something Tim hasn't been able to provide her with. So they have sex in this big spur of the moment, passionate moment. It's a good moment. They have sex, and it's a thing I was worried about because they kept on getting stuck in certain points of this movie, and they kept on throwing it away. Like their legs got stuck in the cave when they fell down and woke up the next morning. He was sucking and choking on her hair at one point of this movie, right? So there's been weird shit happening, and there's been body parts getting stuck to one another, right? So they have this sex in the stall. They ultimately finish, if you know what I mean. And what happens, it was something I was fearing would happen the whole movie, and I honestly was hoping would happen because it would make an interesting scenario. He gets stuck in her. He gets stuck in her, and it's one of the most intense scenes of the year because not only does he get stuck in her, there's a boy in the bathroom who sees two people in the stall, and he runs out of it. So you know now this means they have to get unstuck, and they have to get unstuck quick. And it's insanely intense, and ultimately they do get unstuck, but the scene, as a man, okay, listen, as a man, any man who watches this scene will almost let out an audible, like, ow, or, like, feel it immensely, because I felt it immensely while watching the scene, and I thought that was one of the best scenes of the film, amongst a couple others, because that is really effective. They get unstuck, he yells out this yell, and this is the first time where we kind of see Damon's motives, or Damon Harriman, Jamie's character's motives, because he comes back with the boy. And luckily, Dave Franco's character, Tim, hops up on the stall, so there's only 2 feet in the bathroom, and she's bleeding from her private parts as she walks out of the stall, so Jamie throws it away as like, oh, she had her period. It was like her time of the month or whatever. So he just basically says to her, okay, next time just make it to the faculty bathroom. Don't use the boys' bathroom, but I get it was an emergency. He walks out with the boy, but as he's walking out, Tim's dumbass hops off the stall a little too early, and he sees Tim's feet come from the stall. And that's like the last shot of that scene. You see Jamie's face like, huh? But ultimately, he is in on this because he is, I guess, the headmaster of this cult, or someone who is a product of this myth now. And we find that out. And listen, that's when to stop with the spoilers here, because I don't want to talk about this film and make the film seem worse with how I'm describing it. And I kind of wish I was talking to someone else and bouncing off it with someone else. But right now, this podcast is just me. So, that's where the spoilers end. I think this film is really effective in some spots when it comes to body horror. And I ultimately do like this movie. I think I might like it too much because of the entertainment it provided me, the laughs it provided me, and how many times it skeeved me out. But I am a sucker for body horror, and I will get skeeved out for a lot of body horror films, whether they are good, bad, or not. So, 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, 75 to an 80 traditionally. And listen, I ultimately laughed too much at this film to give it a higher rating, despite me really wanting to. Alison Brie, Dave Franco do a good job here. Alison Brie is the scene stealer for this film for me. She is the standout, as always. And Damon Harriman, as Jamie, was really good here. I wish this film made a little bit more sense. I wish I can coherently tell you what the monster is in this film, or what the fuck else I can describe this thing as besides Plato's Symposium. But I can't. Whether that's me being intellectually inept or that's the film being intellectually inept, you shall see. But this is your boy Matt Talks Films, and this is my review of Together 2025. The next time you see me will probably be the review for Naked Gun that comes out this weekend, which I am excited for. Liam Neeson. I'm excited. I don't know why. I shouldn't be excited for a Legacy sequel, but I am excited. Together, one of the year's best horror films despite its flaws and despite its stupidity and absurdity. Go see this film. I implore you. Matter of fact, I demand you. Go see this film. It's a hell of a time at theaters. It's your boy Matt Talks Films.